Once upon a time, there was a woman. She was stable, she was well off, she was financially secure. Materially, she had everything she needed, but something was missing. Deep down, something essential felt absent. She wanted nothing more than to share this beautiful life with someone. She longed to use her wisdom and intelligence to raise a child. She wanted to be a mother. But the right partner never came. The right partner did not arrive. Time was ticking and she wasn't willing to wait any longer. The desire grew. Day by day, it grew. She believed she had so much love to share, so much wisdom to pass on. She believed she could raise an upright human being, one with values, one with purpose. She believed her life had space for someone to nurture, someone to guide, so she began to explore other options. One day, she visited an orphanage in one of the most socially disadvantaged areas of her city. The place was grey, cold, and quiet. There, among many children, she came across a boy who was already 13 years old, a boy who had lived at the orphanage since he was 5. He had seen many couples come and go, many people considering adoption, but no one had ever chosen him. There was a reason for that. The boy had a reputation. He had behavioral issues. He had emotional issues. He had been labeled as difficult, too difficult. The caretakers were fed up. They interacted with him only when absolutely necessary. Feeding time, school matters, the bare minimum. No one wanted to deal with him. But the woman saw him. She really saw him. For some odd reason, she felt a connection. She saw who he really was. She saw who he could become. She saw his highest potential. Him, I would take, she told the caretakers. The caretakers looked at her with disbelief. But the woman persisted. She went through with the paperwork. The process was long. It was tedious. It was challenging. But she persisted. She signed every document, answered every question, crossed every obstacle. In the end, the boy was hers, legally, officially her son. So she raised him, she trained him, she mothered him, she mentored him. It was not easy. It was never easy. There were sleepless nights, nights filled with worry, fear, and exhaustion. She went through his darkest moments with him. She cried with him, she rejoiced with him, she celebrated his milestones, she argued with him, she lectured him, she disciplined him, she supported him in every way. Therapy sessions, extracurricular activities, doctor's appointments, extra lessons in school, everything. She gave everything. But it wasn't easy. She was alone in the end. The boy was challenging, but still she saw him. She saw the greatness inside him. She believed he would become great, and he did. He grew into a young, brilliant man. He became a professional athlete. He earned a scholarship to one of the best universities abroad. After university, he pursued his athletic career. He became big. He became successful. He became rich. He became great. The woman was proud. She had invested her life force into him. She believed it was worth it. All the suffering, all the sleepless nights, it had paid off. She believed she had done good. She believed she had achieved something great. But she didn't see what she had sacrificed. She didn't see what she had neglected. She didn't see that she had lost herself. Her career had stalled. Her relationships had faded. She had given her all to her son. Her son who had now become a great man. Her son who had everything. But something was wrong. The great man held resentment in his heart. The woman did not see it. She still saw her little boy. She still believed she knew best. She continued to guide him. She continued to mentor him. She continued to believe she was doing good. But the man grew distant. The man grew cold. One day, the resentment burst forth. You always act like I don't know anything. You think you can direct my life. You think you know everything. You think you are my God. But look at me. Look at what I've become. Why should I take direction from someone who lost control of their own life a long time ago? Look at you. You still don't have a husband. Your career went down the drain years ago. Why should I take advice from someone like you? In fact, let me advise you. Fix your own life instead of patronizing me. The words echoed. They echoed in her mind. They echoed in her soul. That night she sat on her bed. She sat still. She thought hard. She thought deeply. She believed she had done good. She believed she had done right by her son. She believed that raising him, sacrificing for him, was the right thing to do. But where she thought she had done good, he had experienced it as bad. And the man, the boy who had once been hers, left. He went off to live his life. A successful life, a great life. And the woman was left picking up the pieces of the life she had neglected, left sitting alone, left with no husband, left with a stagnated career, left with no purpose. Her purpose had been him, but he had grown, he had gone, and now her purpose was gone. She sat alone, searching for a new purpose, searching for herself, wondering whether doing good had truly done good at all. Hey guys, let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever been in a position where you thought you were a good person, you thought you did the right thing, you thought you did good, you thought you had the right intentions and good intentions, but then in the end, everything just backfired? And at the end of the day, it was just not received like that by others. Maybe it even ended up causing harm. Have you ever been in a space where you questioned what it really means to be a good person and what the whole concept of good and bad really means in the first place? What is really good? Now, this story that was just shown to you guys is obviously fictional, but it expresses this exact conflict, which I'm pretty sure many of us encounter as we go through our lives. Growing up, I always used to see myself as a good person, and I was convinced that I was a good person and I knew what it meant to be good and to do good, and I was convinced I knew what it is to be good. But in life, the more you grow and the more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. Let me just give you guys some examples from my life that kind of express this whole paradox of, good and bad and doing good causing harm very, very well. Growing up, I always used to have like a lot of resentment towards my parents. They did this and they didn't do that, and this is what they did, and therefore it caused me hurt and it caused me trauma, and this was the cause of why my life is messed up, and this has messed up my life. This has been my attitude about a lot of things, a lot of times towards my parents. I used to have a lot of resentment towards my dad for putting pressure on me about going to university. And being that university didn't turn out to be the best thing for me in life, I used to, in my mind, just hold that against him, that, man, this guy has messed up my life. But the interesting thing is that in his mind, he thought he did the best thing. He thought he directed me towards the best possible path for myself. He was probably thinking for whatever is the best for my highest good. And that is because he comes from a place and from a time where university degrees did carry a lot of value and did actually help people to, change their economic situation, change their social class. So that's probably where he came from. And from this frame of mind is where he now directed me, and a lot of parents directed their kids to go to university. And a lot of things as well that I used to hold against my mom. But now I know that in her mind, she did her best. And I now also know that I, as a kid, did not see the demons that she was fighting at the same time whilst also raising us. So given the circumstances at the time, she probably did the best she could based on the knowledge that she was also having at the time. But when this whole thing of good intentions, bad outcomes hit me the most was basically during the time that I worked as a social worker with young people. Listen, if you want to be humbled in life, go and work with teenagers. Teenagers are the most narcissistic, self-centered, inconsiderate people ever on this earth. And I'm saying this as someone who has once been a teenager, and I was like this as well. And they will humble you. So working with them, I came into the job trying really hard and really wanting to do my best to do a good job as a social worker and helping them. But I soon realized that the more I do, the more I'm being taken for granted. I give them one finger, they take the whole hand. I tried to be a good social worker, which I at the time equated with, getting everything done, being efficient in helping them with their things, with their paperworks, assisting them as much as possible, trying to grant them their wishes. More I'm met with anger and just more expectations. And this is where I learned that being good is not always good. Sometimes the good thing to do is to be a bitch. Sometimes the good thing to do is to be bad, quite literally. You see, the annoying part about life sometimes is that no one can look inside you and see all the thought processes, all the experiences, all the intentions within you and who you are and where you're coming from in every action that you decide to take. People just judge you by whatever you show them through your actions and usually don't have time to look further into the whys and the hows. So what you show them is what they take you for. These young people did not see the efforts behind my work. They took it for what it was and thought it was normal and took it for granted. They didn't register that this is me trying to do a good job and putting effort into this. This is life. And another thing that I've also learned is that you don't give unsolicited advice. Because although a lot of times it comes from genuinely knowing better and wanting to avoid the person making a mistake, sometimes people receive it as you patronizing them and you being arrogant and also you thinking that they're stupid. And I know this because I catch myself sometimes thinking that way when someone gives me unsolicited advice. Sometimes you just have to let people make their mistakes and watch. Even though you know better, you just have to watch. And that's another thing that did not fit into my concept of good. But to make a long story short, the lesson here is that sometimes you have to be bad in order to be good. That's why God is probably sitting up there watching us, running into shit and that's why God gave us free will. Because we have to make our mistakes. We have to go through our shit in order to learn. And sometimes the good thing that we are praying for, we're just not ready for it yet. So that's why probably the whole concept of free will and, for those of you guys who believe in God anyway, but if you believe in God, him probably sitting somewhere watching us running into shit and sometimes removing his hands and not helping us because, maybe if we receive the help, we would take it for granted. If you receive for what you prayed for, you will end up taking it for granted. So it's the same thing with money as well. If you have money, a lot of money that you didn't work for, you end up taking that money for granted and just end up spending it anyhow and making bad financial decisions. Whereas when you have worked very, very hard for that money, you tend to be more careful and you tend to know the value of that money and just be careful about how you spend it. So it's the same like this with everything in life. Sometimes the bad thing is the best thing for someone. So what do you guys think about that? What are your experiences with that? Please share in the comment section and also don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and I see you guys in my next video. Bye.